I kind of noticed this, that a lot of men suck at this. They often go and they often hear some dude on a screen saying compromise is necessary. No, it's not. Here's why I'm going to tell you that. When I say flexibility is necessary, compromise isn't. Compromising is breaking your arm. Flexibility is bending it. Now, here's the difference. If I go against my joint, I break it. If I go with my joint, I can move it this way. Here's the difference. One is not going against my autonomy. One is. So, using the arm analogy, which is inherently what a lot of men need to do, is they often go, no, I'm this way. And then now you can't date. Nobody will ever date you. Your principles suck. You're a statue of a man. How about you be covered in muscles? Have the ability to defend yourself. Have flexibility work in your favor. You want mobility. Mobility keeps you more dangerous than being a rock. You're wearing steel plate armor and you think that you're going to win in the dating game, you're going to lose. You need armor that can protect you and allow you to move from things. And then we don't like that. You know why? We want a bulletproof vest from head to toe so that we don't have to move, so that we don't have to pay attention. You have to pay attention and you have to move. So I really realize this, is that compromising is something you cannot allow to happen to your values. When do you know you compromised? When you take something you value and you repress it because of not engaging in conflict, and that's your fault. So everything has to do with engaging in conflict and being able to accept and experience what you need. I think that for a lot of men, a lot of their relationships go to shit. A lot of them lose passion because they don't even know it, that they allowed themselves to be rejected without communicating how that made them feel and what they just did to the relationship that was working well. And by the way, the most important thing that you guys have to do right after is forgive them. Now, here's the thing. When you confront somebody, when the animal excitement perhaps gets shut down, because you guys ever done that? You're like, hey, let's go out to this place. Let's go buy a ticket. Let's go out and experience the world. She goes, no, I don't know. I'm not feeling so good. I'm not really in the mood. We should just stay here. And what happens to your whole life is it falls apart. And so I kind of realized that actually that was your fault for not going, hey, there was a girl I dated once. She said she wanted these things. Where is she? What happened? Talk to me. I'm honestly going through a lot right now. Now you guys are being vulnerable. My whole body feels like shit. I feel disconnected. I don't like the things that I'm doing with my life. I don't feel present. And it's not towards you, because now you're having a conversation. And the second that it's not towards you is the second that you realize that not everything is about you. And that actually you're going to have to trust your partner, which leaves us with the last rule. You have to get past your traumas. You have to. And you also have to realize that traumas stop truth. And they begin to sabotage the relationship. So this is what made me realize this, guys. And it was like, there's a certain point where if you're with a chronic narcissistic liar, that's on you. Because you didn't ask them the questions in the beginning that allowed them to show up for those things. I want you guys to also understand something in long-term dating. Words don't mean anything. You could write that down. Words do not mean anything unless people show you their words mean something. A lot of the time we think that giving our partners words of reassurance that things will be better. I'm sorry, words are cheap. They're cheap. It's because you make them cheap. You inflate them. Every time you speak and no action, you need to speak more. You also need to do more to put the currency back on balance. It used to be 10 cents to get yourself 3 scoops of ice cream, right? Go to a movie for 10 cents. What can 10 cents get you now? It's got inflated. So you have to understand that there's a ratio of what you speak and what you do. And this is for anything in long-term dating, is you have to hold people accountable to their words, and if they do not follow through with their actions, you have to walk away. Here's something I also noticed about why my relationships got so much better and why I was able to get down to the bottom of things. I have a question that comes up to the surface. It makes me feel a certain way. Remember, I've confronted a lot of my traumas. All the traumas that I consciously know of, and that's within my responsibility. By the way, more traumas will come out when I start dating. Fair enough. But isn't that the whole point? Isn't that the whole point? I noticed how much trauma came out of me when I started my business, when I started speaking on stage, when I started working with clients. I noticed how much more trauma came out of me when I actually started dating women that I respected and was sexually attracted to. I had to start expressing my sexuality along with my spirituality. And that was a very difficult thing for me to do because I never knew how to do that. And now look at me, I'm learning, and we're all learning. And we're here to get better at this day by day. So it made me realize how important the trust part is. And the trust part is so damn important because you won't know how to trust if you're traumatized. Trauma stops trust. And not having trust stops truth. Because then that stops you from trying to look for the truth. And then that makes you feel like you're an imposter every time you ask for it. So I made this very clear here, is that we can go ahead and run it through from the beginning just to show you what exactly this looks like, is that this is actually the same thing that we spoke about the other day, because they actually go hand in hand with each other. When you guys understand that on the first date, you guys are establishing their core values and what they want to build in their life. And then I like to kind of see the branches and then go down to the roots. What are the roots? The sexual expression, the past relationships, the past trauma, how they grew up, what they believed in, right? And then that manifests into the beauty that you see on the date. You talk about it on the first date. Even if you're just trying to be superficial. Even if you're just trying to go for some bodies. Always accept that there will be personality difference. If your personalities don't align, don't think it's going to work. Just don't. If you guys are not attracted to one another, stop. I'll tell you why. A lot of men have been making this mistake recently. Is they often feel that the super pretty girl is something that they can't have. Or they often feel that there's something distorted about that. And it takes away a feeling of control for themselves. So I realized something, is that if you guys actually want a healthy relationship, do not date somebody that you don't find absolutely attractive when you wake up every morning. Here's a really good determining factor of that. 10 of the most attractive women that you've ever seen in your life, 10, not 5, 10. Is she up there? If the answer is yes, then remember, it's just familiarity and emotions that are disconnecting you from the attraction. The more comfort you create with the attraction, and the more familiarity you have, the more expression you'll actually have beyond what you first felt, which is called the progression of love. So, and it's something I didn't include here, but it's something that definitely needs to be included here. Do not date somebody that you're not completely attracted to. Remember, not what other people see as attractive. And here's a really good indicator of that. Would you show her off to your friends? Would you kiss her in public? Would you hold her hand everywhere you go? Would you tell your parents she's an amazing person? Would you share her with your nieces and nephews? Would you like every person in your life to see this person? If the answer is no, you have your answer. A part of them is unattractive. Remember, it's not that she has to be externally beautiful and that's why you bring her around. If she has a weird voice and you don't like it, be honest. The most disrespectful thing you could do to anybody is tell them that they're enough when that's truly a lie. Because it doesn't mean that they're not enough for anybody else. It means that they do not satisfy what you are looking for in your life, which is your responsibility to communicate that. It might seem harsh, it might seem rude. The most disrespectful thing you could do to a person is 10 years later then tell them, I was never really attracted to you and you were never enough. It's okay to say to somebody off the bat because you don't know them. If you don't know them, they're not rejecting you. They're just telling you a difference. And here's something very powerful, something I noticed, that there's actually no ugly people. There's a person for everybody. So attraction's very deep. It runs really deep. And it definitely made me realize that a lot of people do date people they're not attracted to fully. They often feel that the thing that they're attracted to fully has too much control over them and will make them lose their mind. Guys, you did not become strong so that you cannot get the best. You made yourself stronger so that you can get better. And not only you can get better, that you can help others up too. And that person that's being helped up is yourself. You know, for years I actually had a negative association to beauty because it would make my head shoved up, right up my ass. I would literally shove my head up my ass the second I was with a girl that was Jewish, met my values, passionate, beautiful. And I created negative associations to it. Why? Because I couldn't focus on what was good for me because I didn't want to be good for me. I wanted to fail. And so, of course, you engage in the relationship and you realize how much you're failing and bumbling around. And then you go, no, none of that anymore. Now I'm going to split it so that I can show my friends I can get hot and I could also show my parents that I can get good. Stop. What if this whole life has been about you? It's always been about you. So remember, 3 things that allow you to keep that romance is confrontation. The animal excitement, being able to act on animal excitement. And this is actually very interesting. Just another story to give you guys some mind about this is that a lot of the time, one of my clients I was working with, he was seeing this girl, and she kept saying like she feels like he's a safe bet. And I said, you know why you feel like he's a safe bet? Because you take safe bets. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, I want you to completely unleash your animal. Every sexual thought, every intimate thought, every loving, giving thought, I want you to act on, even if it makes no sense. So he's like, okay. He goes to her office, pulls her skirt up, turns the blinds off, locks the door, has sex with her. She's blown away. The next day, he buys her a bouquet of flowers, drops it off at the doors. She's blown away. The next day, he goes, hey, we're going to be going out to Florida for a little trip. Blows her away. And every time, she rewarded him and rewarded him and rewarded him. And when somebody rewards you, what are they doing? They're showing you they love it. And then, by the way, he would show her that he loves it by doing the things that are him, and then she would reward him by doing the things that are her, and then pretty much none of you guys are telling each other what to do. You're growing together vertically without having to touch or pull one another up, which is where a lot of you guys trip up. And of course, the last one, presence. If you cannot, animal excitement, confrontation, presence, and then confrontation. So you need presence to identify whether or not you need to. Sometimes you don't need to. By the way, confrontation can be okay. I had a question for you. I want to know this about you. That relationship that you had, what did that do to you? How did that change you? How did that evolve you? Sometimes you have to be able to speak openly about the person and concerns, which is why the last rule is actually the most important, which is trust. And you can't trust if you have trauma. And confronting internal trauma is actually through triggering the trauma and realizing that you have trauma. The girl that I called the other day was actually mature enough to realize that I did trigger something. She's like, yeah, you did trigger something in me. And she was a psychologist, so she was able to identify that. So there's a level of maturity that you can have as adults, and just realize that you're here to help one another and not say that you're better than somebody. I've been triggered too. Absolutely, I've been triggered. When people don't tell me things, I get pissed. And it's like, okay, why? And it's like, well, because I want to control who that person is. But what if they're not giving me something I don't like? Why am I not walking away right now? And I was like, okay, just walk away. Right? And it's like, well, because why am I resistant to that? Because she's this, because she's that, because she's this. Here's the thing about presence that I really love. And a lot of guys do this. She's amazing, she's this, she's that. But what if she gets fat? What if she doesn't age well? What if she changes after pregnancy? What if, I don't know, what if she goes crazy? What if she becomes an alcoholic? What are all of those things? That's the fear of your past being projected into your future. And that right there is a really good indicator to see whether or not you're not present with that person. How do you know you're present with that person? You feel what you feel with that person. And you confront what you feel with that person, not through that person. And together you guys create what you call an open space for expression. And then you guys have what you call an exciting, passionate, fulfilled, purpose-driven life. And long-term dating is made today.